why shouldn't my kids roam free? Because you might have a crazy Karen neighbor that like shoots you or your kids.
Under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Buried deep, but we're breaking the locks. Footage got clipped, they erase all the shots. We stay connected dots. Under the docks, under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Under the docks.
Under the Docks, introducing Mainstream Mondays with Paranoid American and Sean Chris.
I was thinking we were going to get away without the Vuvuzelia, but it's going to always be there, I guess.
Yeah, get a little bit of it's nice to right when you go into work or midday work where you're just like, let me wake up. Work sucks. Let's listen to Under the Docks.
I got a quick spoiler alert for this one too. I hope I don't give the whole entire premise away. This one's called The Perfect Neighbor, but I don't think she's actually the perfect neighbor. I think it's like a sarcastic title, or I'm not really sure. It doesn't pan out.
I will say that this is not what I was expecting because, like, I thought it was like going to be ID channel kind of stuff, like strictly, the perfect neighbor that they were like, hey man, this is my property line, like how like, and then they're like, no, you're digging too far, the fence. Like, I've seen a couple of things like that.
I've seen a couple of those seasons where, and watching that kind of stuff, it makes you think twice about like starting any beef with a neighbor because you're stuck living next to them for who knows how long. So things can escalate, and I think we get a perfect example of that one through this.
And so the film he's talking about is The Perfect Neighbor, a 2025 Netflix film that recently dropped and has been getting some buzz on the TikToks and the socials. Directed by, I'm gonna butcher this for sure, Geeta Gandbhir. All right, man. We're gonna work on the. I'm gonna have to start getting like a pronunciation coach to help people out. They're gonna be like, "Who is that?" This film, it follows a neighborhood where there's a Karen, allegedly, that is constantly complaining and calling the cops on all the neighborhood kids for playing by her yard, and allegedly she's saying different things to them, like negative, racist things, and throwing their stuff and
N-word.
Yeah, the N-word.
Hard R, N-word, I assume.
Hard R, yeah. And they delve into it. They actually question her about that. That's an interesting part. But basically, it follows body cam footage and witness testimonies of like, hey, this is how she was, and this is a plague that we had to deal with. And the perfect neighbor, as you alluded to, was not so perfect.
And it's honestly, it's not even that clever of a title. Like I was hoping that there would be some kind, because it's not even like there's a pretense that she acts perfect. Cops show up, you can already tell that everyone in this neighborhood is the perfect neighbor. I don't know. Maybe it's like a really deep cut, and they're talking about the mom that died. Maybe she was the perfect neighbor.
I agree with you because I think the title was misleading. I thought like the neighbor was going to be one of those people that like the whole time, like, hey, I'm a perfect neighbor. I'll mow your lawn. I'll do all this stuff. And then secretly they have like
murder.
Yeah. Thousands of bodies in the basement. That's what I thought I was getting coming into this. I had no knowledge. I didn't really research it beforehand. So I was like kind of caught off guard.
We just knew that this was popular, that people were talking about this documentary for unknown reasons. And okay, I get that. Yeah.
Plotting the course. This one's kind of easy to plot. I mean, it's the way they structure it out. It's the neighbor Susan, who is a white lady, right? And the rest of the neighborhood is predominantly black. It looks like there's a couple other like white ladies that are like ratchet as hell. Like, let me just say this right off the bat, and I don't care. People are gonna get upset. I hate those type of people. Those white ladies that are just like trashy. Like they're trashy, man. And they're just like, well, you know what I'm saying? It's just annoying. And So
bias
Susan,
going in is what I'm hearing. Already bias going in.
yeah, bias going. As soon as I seen him, I was like, oh hell no. And don't get me wrong, the Susan lady is well annoying just as much to the same degree. That to me, it's all around parties crappy, trash. I would not want to live there. I would be like, I am absolutely not living in this neighborhood for all the reasons of all the people. Basically, it follows Susan constantly calling the cops. The timeline of her when she first starts calling the cops on the kids who are playing football in the field next to her house. Now,
Not even her house.
not even
The
her
house
house
that she's renting.
she's
Yeah.
renting, and the property's big, so she doesn't own the whole. Like even the landlord doesn't own that full property. It's actually partially owned by one of the other neighbors who doesn't have a problem with the kids playing football there. She calls the cops. A sign is thrown. It was so funny to be like so dramatic of like, yeah, it almost hit me. Like the lady Susan is way over the top. She's a perfect example of what a Karen is, complaining on every little thing. She is over the top. I agree with that 100%. Like I would not want to live by that lady whatsoever. She's annoying. However,
I heard a butt coming.
this notion the film tries to paint that, oh, the neighbors are perfect, they're just kids, and like what's the big deal? Like as a parent, I can see that they're not watching these kids. These kids are running the streets, doing whatever they want, because if this was the problem for me, I solved this problem instantly within the first 20 minutes. I was like, hey kids, don't go over there. I don't care if it's her yard or it's not her yard. I want you nowhere near anywhere that anything that she owns. I'm not going to give her any reason. We're just going to ignore her completely because we have to live by her. So that's it. But what I saw was people almost antagonizing. Yes, she was over the top. Yes, she was complaining about stuff that shouldn't be complained about. But nobody was doing anything, and these kids are running the streets and running amok, bro. Not running the streets as gang members, but I'm talking about running the streets like,
They're like 5 and 7, right? Like these are the ages of the kids.
Like,
you know?
it looks like it's 5 to like 13 because there's some older kids there too, and they're like, oh, well, they're playing football, and right across the way, instantly when they're talking to the cops, they're like, they're playing. Why aren't they playing in the football between the other two houses? It's like you can solve this problem, but you're refusing.
You wanted someone to get shot. That's what I'm hearing already.
Hey. I knew something was going to happen. It was lackluster as well. Like the way they got to the finale, and you're like, whoa, this is pretty basic. Like, it's like if you did a documentary on like, hey, the guy got robbed at the liquor store. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that happens quite often. Like, this is not something that's crazy, like where I'm learning something new. But what I do find interesting about this is the film has this undertone of like racist bias, and then the cops not having a racist bias. But when you see the cops interacting over there, which I know that cops get annoyed if you're constantly called somewhere, so they automatically did not like this Susan lady either, because obviously they're like, oh, here we go again. I'm sure at the station they're like, oh, damn it, that Susan lady's calling again about the kids. You know, this is going to be bull crap, and we're going to have to deal with the neighbors telling us all this stuff, and we're going to have to hear her sob story. But then you get a little bit more of how Karen this Susan was when you see a scene where her car's locked in, I believe it was a tow yard or something, and she panics, so she says, and starts ramming the gate back and forth, hitting the gate, damaging it to the point where they need to replace it, and they press charges on her.
This is wild, like the new version of policing now, where if you do have a problem with the police and multiple run-ins, they're just like, run the tape, and you've got like a highlight reel of all the weird stuff that you've done. And this lady had that highlight reel. She had, I guess she had called 911 somewhere between 6 and 8 times over the span of 2 years. We see a majority of those. We actually see like the body cam of all that. And then the one where she rams the gate, which isn't included in that. And then finally, like the last day when she calls 911 for the last time before this thing like escalates and blows completely up. So it's just interesting that now we've got all this, and the whole time I'm wondering, why don't you have a ring cam? Why don't you have like a camera pointed at the yard, just so, because every single time she goes up to the police, they're like, do you have video evidence? No. Okay, well, we don't have any credible eyewitness evidence other than yours, so we can't really do much. And then and I almost feel like they're hinting at this lady, like, get a camera, lady, get a camera, lady. And for whatever reason that they state later on in the documentary, that Susan's not great at making rational decisions, that she just lets emotion guide her decisions. And that's maybe another one. Like, it makes sense that you would just get a camera, but Susan doesn't make sense. So she's not going to make decisions that make like any sense at all.
No, I agree with you. Not just the cameras, or hey, here's another thing. Just move out. Go find another, like within like a year, you should be able to move out. I get it. Not
In this market,
in this, she's got to be able to find, she's renting, right? Or find, like, I'm with you. I was also, the other solution is get the cameras and go, hey, here's what they're doing. Here's the proof. It's not my word, because what you're having is her word versus everybody else's word in the neighborhood, which it's obvious that all those mothers involved and all the kids involved talk about this constantly. And she's an enemy to all of them. She does not, none of them like her. She has nobody to be on her side in that situation. And then the few neighbors that are maybe not linked up with them are like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm fine with everything. And I can see like half the neighborhood is against her. So I'm not going to be the only one on her side, right? And a lot of people aren't going to just stand there. And she is also not a cool person. Like, it's not a person you'd want to defend. It's not an easy person. She makes bad decisions, but she's also like manipulative and one of those victim playing people. So I can see that nobody would want
Karen. Yeah, she's like a literal Karen.
She's like the epitome of what a Karen is, right? She's the poster child. And I think that kind of hurt her in this film. And I think that got the public perception, because what happens is it escalates. So there's about like 6 to 8 calls before it escalates where the kids are playing by her yard. They're allegedly saying stuff to her. There's even a time where she claims they were trying to put a puppy inside the back of her car. And then the guy's like, no, it was a large dog, which I think there's a lot of murky area in these things. Like, I think that everybody's lying. I feel like Susan's lying and the other neighbors are lying. I think everybody's just going back and forth and telling a story that makes them look good. So after all this happens, one of the boys, Izzy, he leaves his iPad, or maybe it was, Izzy's mother. So he leaves
a tablet. I'm pretty sure it wasn't an iPad.
Yeah, it probably was. It was a tablet, right? And allegedly there was a skate left over there that Susan threw at one of the boys. That's the alleged incident. And Susan took the tablet. The mom of Izzy goes to Susan's house, bangs on her sliding glass door from 10 seconds to 2 minutes. Like, they kind of break this down in the film. I want to say, like, time frame's hard to say, right? 10 seconds can feel like 2 minutes, or 10 minutes can feel like 2 minutes. That's beside the point. So as she's banging on the door, allegedly saying she's going to murder Susan, again, Susan, a manipulating victim, liar, maybe exaggerating, I don't know. Well, Susan shoots her right through the door and says, I feared for my life, right? Instantly calls the cops and does the famous line that I thought, like you, I thought, oh, she's good. She said, I feared for my life. Boom. There's no camera footage of her saying she was going to murder her. But the problem is that the neighborhood is like, we didn't hear that. We didn't hear that she was going to say she's going to murder Susan or do anything. She just went over there to get her kid's tablet and talk.
I think that she had like some fresh baked cookies and like an apple pie. She was over there just to spread the good news of Jesus Christ. And Susan, this crazy lady, just starts blasting through the door unprompted. And I went back to rewind it so I could remember. There's a scene right after, like, right when they're talking about, I think it's Izzy, one of the kids, is talking about like his mom got shot. It's on a Ring camera at one of the neighbors' houses. And in the background, you can hear like interviews from cops. Like, they're not showing the people, but you could tell that they were interviewing people in the neighborhood. And I found it interesting that there's one kid that's telling the truth, where he's like, yeah, she was banging and yelling and all this stuff. And then one other guy's like, yeah, she was banging. And everybody else is like, no, she just like kind of went over there and was just like, hey, can you come outside real quick? And I want to get my kid's tablet. And I was like, that is not what happened, bro. This lady went over there furious. And also, they said that Susan was like, go get your mom. This was key to the case, which I know is a lie, because in the beginning of the film,
that mom, Izzy's mom, says, I tell my kids, if Susan talks to you, don't talk to her, come get me. So the kids were trained to go get their mother in any of these instances. So I think that's a lie as well. And again, I think everybody's lying. I don't think I think Susan as well is probably exaggerating. I think the lady went over there, pounded on it, was like, get your ass out here, very upset. Rightfully so, I get it when you're kids, but also it seems like these parents are not watching these kids. It feels like the kids are just let loose and free to do whatever they want. So at the same time, I don't like this new parenting style where I see it, not just here, everywhere, where people are just like, well, little Timmy, he just got to get his emotions out, or like, oh, let him just like run free. No, man, you have to rein kids in and be like, absolutely not. You're not doing this. So that kind of gets me through the whole film. But I think maybe Susan shouldn't have shot, but I could also see a way that Susan was fear of her life, because she's like, wow, I made these people so mad. Or in her delusional mind is like, what? I did nothing, and these people just want to kill me.
There's a couple things, and there's like some elements at play, and I just feel that even if it didn't end the way that it ended, which was like June 2nd, 2023, this is like the night that AJ Owens, the one that had the 4 kids, she runs up, bangs on the door, gets shot through the door, dies. Freaking spoiler alert, right? And Susan ends up getting like arrested, and like they put her through the system for this. But man, when you see all the times that the cops show up, and they're basically, and they got the body cam on sometimes, and they're with the group of kids, and they're basically telling the kids like, look, I was a kid once too. You guys are being kids. I'd rather you be out here screaming and hollering and pissing off, Karen, as long as you're not on the TikTok, or as long as you're not out there like gangbanging. They don't say gangbanging, but that's kind of like what they're implying. Like, as long as you're not out doing actual crime, like whatever, like you can yell at this lady. Like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm on your side. I think a cop literally tells these kids, I'm on your side. So it does like embolden this dynamic. And I think what happens is that Karen or Susan, even if she's a little bit crazy and irrational, I don't think she's a complete idiot. Like, I think she understands that this is the dynamic, that it's a bunch of kids, and for whatever reason, she's not getting the camera, probably because she realizes that having the camera wouldn't have vindicated her. What's happening is that kids are in a yard next to a house that she doesn't even own, that she's renting, and the person that owns that land doesn't care if these kids are over there, and she's just annoyed by them, and she starts instigating it. And the implication is when they ask her, like, oh, what would happen if we looked in your internet search history? And she's like, you won't find nothing. Like, just Facebook and stuff, just normal stuff. And they're like, Karen, were you looking up castle doctrine? Were you looking up stand your ground laws? Were you looking up the police cheat codes so that when we show up, you say, I was in fear for my life? You know what I mean? Like, do all the things. And apparently she did all that in the days or weeks leading up to this event. And that's why there's this little tell when they're like, did you ask for the mom? Like, go get your mom. Because I guess towards the end of this documentary, it shows that the police narrative is now that Karen went online and built this case. She like had a premeditated murder in mind, where she's like, I'm going to kill like these kids' mom just because they keep annoying me. It was out of like anger and hate as opposed to like fear for her life. And that she waited for the right moment, said, go get your mom. And I guess figured this is the time that I can get away with it. And that's the premise. That's the narrative that the documentary is also taking. Because then even at the end, to me, it was it was like all of a sudden Al Sharpton's on the screen. Like, there's like 7 minutes left in the movie, in the documentary. I'm like, okay, I kind of understand what happened. The documentary doesn't piece it together and spell it out very well. And now Al Sharpton's yelling at me. And then it gives you stats like white people are, excused more often than black people, and stand your ground laws, blah, blah, blah. And I'm all for like a discussion, an interesting documentary about that. But it was just like, here's text on the screen and Al Sharpton talking in the last 7 minutes, and then the documentary ends. And you're like, wait a minute, was there like a racial angle to this that I didn't even see? And now when you're mentioning that it came on the radar because it's like popular on TikTok, of course, that's the reason why I guess this case or this documentary would have any clout at all, is because it plays that card at like the last 5 seconds of the movie.
Hidden treasures and overboard moments. I got nothing but overboard moments for me. Like that. That's kind of like I guess the hidden treasure was like it is interesting now. We may see more documentaries, and we have seen some of them using more of these police body cameras, which I do find a little interesting because we might see some cool stuff. And I'm waiting for someone to put like a compilation together of some of the best body cam footage. That part is probably a hidden treasure to me, but I'll save everything for the overboard moments. I want to hear your hidden treasure.
I got some hidden treasures, man, because I think that it did raise the most interesting thing that happens in this entire documentary is this question of a combination of castle doctrine and stand your ground laws, which are like many states have these laws, but Florida has like a unique blend of the both of them. Plus, like I believe constitutional carry now. It's kind of like a FAFO is now FAFFO because it's like F around in Florida and definitely find out. You know what I mean? Like Florida is the one place to maybe not test any of these laws. But the hidden treasure for me was finding out that shooting someone through a locked door is actually in a very gray legal area as to whether or not you can claim that in a stand your ground or a castle doctrine defense. And I guess that the biggest thing is that you have to be in imminent fear of danger of your life or like bodily harm or some kind of felony that's about to be committed on you. And I guess in this particular case, the DA and the courts and the jury was able to basically say that no, that Karen or Susan wasn't actually afraid for her life. She was angry and she shot out of anger and not out of fear. But if like the one little difference, if they could have proved the cheat code that I was in fear for my life, if they actually could have proved that she was in fear for her life, this wouldn't have been such a clean cut, like Susan goes to jail, she's convicted of homicide, right? It might have actually been part of the stand your ground law. And because those laws don't actually state anything about doors being open or closed, it's just, are you in fear for your life? And if you're already at home, you don't really have anywhere else to run, like, right? Like if once they come in that front door. So that was the biggest one. And the takeaway is like, wait for them to come in the door, maybe even leave the door unlocked. Who knows? You know what I mean? But just like you have to still do these extra little steps in order to build a legal case for yourself. And if that's what Susan really was doing from day one, and she kind of fumbled the ball at at like the end line. So I feel that was one of the interesting hidden treasures was just the fact that the stand your ground and castle doctrine still have so much leeway. And I'm pretty sure that this particular case can now be used as precedent. So now if anyone else in the future gets shot through a closed locked door, maybe they can cite this case and be like, like this doesn't count as a stand your ground. So that one's really interesting to me. A couple other ones was that once the event happens and Susan shoots AJ through the door and AJ dies, she doesn't get immediately arrested. Like she still has to go back to her neighborhood and kind of like live and deal with being in this aftermath chaos. And that's when she calls the cops again. She's like, hey, they're out here harassing me. I need help. I'm trying to move out. And I guess like soon after that happens, they finally just come and bring her to the station. They straight up book her for this homicide. But even then you can see the lady across the street. I think her name was like Yvonne, like the white lady, like the ratchet lady. And she's screaming like, yeah, you know why you got to call the cops, because you can't be out on these streets alone. Like she's basically making the same implication. It's like even seeing another person die because this lady was so antagonized, there's another one just fills that role. Like another Hydra head pops up and they're like, now I'm going to start instigating this old lady. So the end point was that this was always going to end in tragedy. Even if it wasn't on that particular day under these particular circumstances, there was never a point where this seemed like it was going to fizzle out or work itself out. It was always going to be someone was going to harm Susan or Susan was going to harm one of them. But I didn't see it turn in any other way. And then the one other like minor thing is that on that last visit, when they show up and the lady across the street's like, yeah, you can't be out on these streets. And they're like shouting at this lady in her house. A female cop shows up and she's already got her body cam on. So she's already recording. Like she sees the ratchet lady, like she gets some of that energy. And then the guy cop shows up that was already on the scene, and he's like, "Are you up?" And I think that meant like, "Are you recording on your body cam?" And he's like, "Oh, I should probably put mine on too." Beep. And I was just thinking, like, bro, like somebody just died here. You've got a call about someone that's like, "Hey, I killed someone. The neighborhood's mad at me. They're yelling at me. Like, I'm having problems." It just seems like I would just immediately hit that body cam before I'm even in the car driving over there. And I had to look this part up too. There's really no law that says when you have to start or stop recording on your body cam. It's completely up to the discretion of all the individual apartments and regions. So man, it was wild to me seeing, and the guy he knew immediately. He's like, "Oh, I'm on camera. Hey, are you up? Oh, I should be on too." Like he knew he had messed up by not recording already. So I'm just like, the hidden treasures, they're truly hidden in this movie. Like you got to find them. But it's like, man, you can also see the state dropping the ball here too. In the back of my mind, the state has just as much of an incentive to pin this on Susan/Karen, because that'll take away all the responsibility that I feel that the state also has in like this tragic outcome.
Yeah, I kind of seen it more of an overboard moment, but I could see what you mean by hidden treasure. So like my thing was, the reason the state changed their mind was because public perception changed their mind, right? They had rallies and they had people up there like, "No, we need her arrested now," and hyped all these people up. And to go back where you're talking about that white ratchet Yvonne lady or whatever her name was, I saw her yelling and all that, and I'm like, this is not the first time you've done this. This is not the first time people have done this in that neighborhood. Again, I'm not justifying Susan. Like, I get it. She's an annoying neighbor. She's a manipulator. She has her own issues, but they paint all these other people like, man, they're just trying to live their. No, you guys were yelling back and forth. This was a constant issue. I saw that and I'm like, oh, this is how it's been for the last 2 years.
Well, and brother, there's this extra layer on here too. That I don't know. Some people don't live in the actual outside world. So let me just give you a little like taste from actually being out in the real world with real people for most of my life. I think it's that there's like what's just and what's right and what's legal, and then there's like what actually happens. You know what I mean? So no, at no point was Karen or Susan justified in anything that she did. The kids and the parents acting on her, they're not justified in what they were doing to her. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, she went to jail for it, right? So technically what she did was illegal, but it doesn't mean that people won't do something illegal in the moment. And whether you're instigating something over like years and years and years, just because like, oh, she wouldn't kill me, that would be illegal. She'd go to jail. Like, yeah, bro. Like, that's why jails and crimes and laws and cops exist, is because people do completely unpredictable things. And it just like, watch this one as, I guess, like a warning of like, don't mess with your neighbors. They might not always follow the law, especially if you push them past their point.
Well, I also feel like this neighborhood, I have the feeling these moms were getting together like, oh, I'll beat that chick's ass and I'll do this. I could tell. I know how people, I've seen that in my lifetime.
You don't see any of that in the documentary. So
you don't see that, but at the end, the point you highlighted, I was like, oh, for sure. As soon as I seen them come on camera, I was like, here we go. I was like, this isn't going to be a propaganda piece on some BLM stuff. I thought that immediately. As soon as I saw everybody come and interview it, and I was like, and I feel like I was right. And the overboard moment that I really felt as well was the cops, because they got the pressure. They were literally trying to dig their way in, but they were using that one line like, you told her to come over. That's what made you plan it. So you're able to go in there and be like, oh, you told the mom to come over. You told us, go get your mom. So you wanted her to come over and you wanted to kill her. That's how their whole premise of their case. And I'm like, that's how you convicted her? I was like, that's so like such a weak case. And I get it now. I think you're right that the locked door gray area is really what, like, legally, right? The legality of it was what able to close it. But the way they got to arrest her was being like, well, you said. So from what a kid said, like literally a kid. And I was like, these kids are liars. I could hear them. I bet you that one kid was trying to put a fucking dog in the truck because they don't like this lady anymore, in my opinion. So like they can see, you can tell kids repeat the things that their parents say. You could tell that some of the stuff that they were saying, they overheard their mom talking like that. So they felt comfortable talking like that. I'm like, there's also a big element of bad parenting. Again, I'm not justifying what Susan did, because Susan should have got cameras or moved out. Susan could have made better choices. But to pretend like, oh, these were just some good kids that were just, no, these were wild kids. And I'm not saying that they were like playing like bad kids, but they were super
No,
wild.
they were like Bebe's kids.
Yes, exactly. And that is annoying, man. Like, I've lived in apartments, bro, and I'm like, hey, man, get your kid. And if you tell anything to the kid or tell anything to the parents nowadays, they're like, oh, don't be talking to my kid, or don't worry about what my kid does, and da 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 da. And when I was little, if I was doing that and my neighbor came to my dad or my mom, they would have been like, oh, we're going to handle this. Don't worry. Like, he will not do that ever again. And I think that it shows, I guess that could be a hidden treasure as well, instead of an overboard moment. It highlights that there's a lot of bad parents out there, and that's the reason kids are doing whatever the hell they want.
I think this case though, it really is sort of clean cut. Like, I don't think she was justified at all for the level of force that she brought, like shooting through the closed door. And what they mention here is that when she originally calls 911 that day, and it sounds like this happened right after she threw the roller skate at the kid and like took the tablet or did something with the tablet. She immediately goes inside, calls 911, and by the time she hangs up the phone with 911 over like a 4 or 5 minute call, 2 minutes later, AJ is shot dead. So from hanging up the phone to all this happening, and she's like, in her mind, it felt like it was, 10 minutes or something, but the cops keep pushing this. I mean, and I wanted to say, like, to be fair, the moment that she was in the police station, the day that they arrested her, it didn't matter what she said or what the cop said. Like, at that point, the DA had signed a piece of paper somewhere that's like, yes, you can go arrest her. So what? Ideally, and as soon as she sits down, it's just like, Susan, have you ever said the N-word? Bro, just as a pro tip, if you're in the police station and the cops are asking you this, you're just like, lawyer, you know what I mean? Like, this is not going to go well for you. And that was another thought. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like, the response to whether or not you said the N-word might legally affect your entire case here. Like, and she was like, yeah, I might have said, you know what I mean? Like, I might have said it.
Oh, so she goes off and says, well, yeah, I say that. It means like, you're dumb. And I'm like, lady, as soon as I see her walk, you said the perfect thing. As soon as I seen her walk and sit into that chair, I'm like, where's your lawyer? Yeah. Like, I'm not going to talk to anybody without my lawyer. I'm assuming but this lady obviously was delusional. I think she suffered from like some kind of like, I don't know what, not narcissistic, but like some kind of like disorder of where she believed her own crap, right? She obviously thought she was such an innocent, perfect neighbor and didn't see what she did. And I do agree with you. I don't think it's justified what she did. I don't think she like planned it out, but I do think that she thought about it quite a bit. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, if she comes over here, I'm going to shoot her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, thoughts of like, I hate these people so much. I don't know if that she went to the farthest as like, okay, I'm going to take the tablet and I'm going to tell the kid to go get her. I don't think that's the way it happened. I think she probably had the gun though for a while and just like, if she comes over here, I'm going to shoot her. And like the same thing that they were saying on the other side, like, oh, I'm going to beat that chick's ass when I see her. Like, both of them had like hostility towards each other. And again, open your door, bro. Let her in. If you really want to get away with it, I guess that's the moral to the story. But she should have just moved. And shooting through a locked door does to me kind of go like, if she would have broke the sliding glass door, I would have kind of understand more. Like, okay, she broke in. You have the right under those doctrines to shoot her. But the locked door is a tough area, and that just now I know about my doors being locked or not if I'm in Florida.
Also in Florida, I feel like if you're white and you shoot someone, if you kill someone that's black and you're in your house and you are citing Stand Your Ground and Castle Doctrine and you still get convicted, then you were definitely in the wrong, right? Like, you were absolutely in the wrong because everything else was stacked up for you, but you screwed part of the formula up.
It's about that time. Sink or swim?
Oh, it's such a sink, bro. This is like all the way down to the bottom of the lake. First of all, this documentary was like an hour and 40 minutes, just shy of that. And it could have just been a 20-minute episode of one of those like Neighbors Gone Wild ID sort of series, right? There's no way it needed to be dragged out this long. All the moments in silence where Susan or Karen is like sitting there thinking about what she's done, like usually for dramatic effect, it like makes sense. But in this documentary, man, they just didn't edit anything. They put a bunch of stuff together. And then the way that at the very end, and you're more cynical than me maybe when this comes up because you were like, oh, I saw BLM coming a mile away. I didn't even see that happening until I saw all the different airbrushed like rest in peace shirts and then Al Sharpton talking in like the last 7 minutes or whatever. And I almost felt like, like either I didn't detect it coming or they truly just tacked it on. And I feel like they tacked it on in a big way. And I don't know, like if they had at least pitched that as the perspective from the first 10 minutes of this documentary, then I could have like been entertaining it the whole time and like, you know, like thinking about it in that context. But the fact they just like tack it on at the very end as an afterthought, like they didn't even try. Like at least if you're gonna to grift a little bit, like put effort into the grift or make it part of your thing. You know, I would almost bet money that someone was watching this in the background and they're like, you know, if we played this angle, we could probably get booked in more circuits. We might be able to get Netflix to bite on this one, you know? And it probably worked by tacking that on. So I hate that it worked, especially because I think I watched most of this at like 1.5 speed and it still felt like it was dragging on. Like I kept bumping it up faster. And I'm just like, are these people just talking really slow or is the editing slow? And then here's the biggest part of all is that I actually had to do my own research. After I finished this, I was just like, so who shot who? What day was it? Like, why did she get tried? Did she even go to jail? Because you don't even see the court proceedings until the credits are rolling. And then like you just barely get enough time to even figure out what actually happened. And then if you got over an hour and a half about this one case that's pretty cut and dry, lady and neighborhood are antagonizing each other. Lady shoots neighbor through the door. The end. That's kind of all that happens. It's not like this huge case where they have to go on a manhunt or like decipher a Zodiac killer letter or none of that. And the fact that they weren't able to spell out exactly what happened, who it happened to, what she was charged with, how long she got, they had all that information and none of it came through. I had to go and like read a whole bunch of articles. So I kind of hate them for that too. So sink all the way, man.
Sink. This, I'm sure that you could tell right away I was going to say a sink. For all the reasons you said as well, I think it's a propaganda piece, man. It just felt like a propaganda piece. You didn't even, it was biased from the get-go. I could see that there was bias. I'm like, okay, like again.
What was the first hint? What was the first hint of bias that I must have missed?
When the cop goes to talk to Izzy's mom and then about the sign. And then I seen the ratchet white ladies. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I seen her. And I was like, oh my God, bro, that's it. I knew it. I was like, this is going to be at an angle, and how the cops were approaching it, right? They were just like, yeah, you know, kids just trying to be kids. And you're like and seeing that the parents were not paying attention. So I'm like, okay, I see where they're going with this, that this is just some racist white lady that's trying to get away with murder. But they were lazy. They just throw body cam footage. And then at the end, they kind of show you a brief, like, I'm with you, go through the case. Let me see it. Let me be the judge of what actually happened. All the evidence. I'm pretty sure I'm with you. I stand that from what I've seen and what a little bit I've read, that I think she was guilty. I think that you can't shoot someone through a locked door. I think you're, in my opinion, your life is not in danger. You already called the cops. Wait for the cops to come. Go hide in your room. Now, if she breaks into your house after you go into your room, then do what you got to do. Like, I understand that, but I think she's guilty. The way they try to frame it this whole time is just a little neighborhood of kids just trying to have fun, you know? And this crazy racist white lady is just trying to ruin it for them. And I don't think that's the case. I think these kids were bad little kids, baby's kids, saying some shit, talking some shit, doing shit they weren't supposed to. And the parents weren't parenting. I don't know if they're bad parents, but they're absent parents, where they're just like, I'm going to go watch TV. I'm going to be inside and you guys just run the streets, instead of like parenting and saying, don't go over there. I would absolutely tell any kid in my life, do not go over there. I'm not saying you're wrong. I understand you should be able to play, but you need to learn that there's people like this and they can do stupid stuff or dangerous, violent things. I don't need you a part of that. Stay on this side of the street. I wouldn't even let them go on the other side of the street by her house. So that kind of annoys me that that element is not pushed more like, hey, it's just this racist white lady. Yes, she did wrong, but it was mutual. Both people were, she may have started this and maybe she's going overboard, but you guys played into it as well. All the neighborhood moms, all the moms that they show constantly, the two ratchet white ladies, they had to be like, well, all the neighbors hate her. Like you see in the beginning, like, well, just so you know, all the neighbors already hate her. And so they tried to paint this piece, and I'm like, oh, this is a propaganda piece. You want me to see, like, see, like, look how all these white people, but then I'm like, she didn't even get away with this. So what the hell is the whole point of this documentary? And then you don't even show statistics at the end. You just say, black people are more likely to not, like get killed by stand your ground. Where's the statistic to back that up? Like, show me some facts,
We just said research. So yeah. The research is who knows where the actual source was.
They're like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You know what I mean? So I'm like, get out of here. This is just a fluff propaganda piece. Or maybe maybe it's not a propaganda piece, but someone was like, yeah, if I attach this to it, I can get Netflix to pick it up and get a lot of money. And I think that's what it was.
And they did, and it worked. And there was, I wouldn't definitely not call this like a hidden treasure, but there was like a really, really possible insightful moment that they just kind of glaze over here. But it's at the very end, and they're showing the two young kids. They didn't look 13, like the two younger brothers, Izzy and Israel, or Izzy and Isaac. And they're mentioning that like one of the kids feels guilty and is like, he feels that it's his fault that his mom died because he left the iPad over there. And with what you're saying about leaving the iPad over there, ... is almost like he feels guilty for instigating this particular event, which then got mom to go over to the front door, and like this whole thing unfolded. And I mean, there's no way that any of this needs to be pinned on some kid, some like 7 or 8-year-old kid, right? Like to understand like what could have happened was probably not even a potential of like his brain. Like thankfully, because he didn't live in that environment yet until this night. And now people that are aware of this case, now it's like, well, why shouldn't my kids roam free? Because you might have a crazy Karen neighbor that like shoots you or your kids. That's the reason. It's not because of what's right or what's just. It's because there's crazy people and scared people that have guns, especially in Florida, that feel like they'd be in the right if they did that kind of thing. And if you're not even considering that, then that's just more part of like the neglectful parenting. Like you should be telling your kids, because also a thing too, like usually if you've got a neighbor that's constantly calling the cops, a lot of people will see that as a threat. Like, oh, you're trying to get the cops in this neighborhood. The cops can bring violence. They can bring state sanctioned violence. So you already know that this lady's a problem. So yeah, I mean, this is just like red flags up and down. I do want to push back before we wrap up. I want to push back. Like, it's not if you're living in this kind of a neighborhood, chances are you don't have like 50 other options on places you can move. Like you're probably stuck in whatever situation you're currently in for whatever reason, especially if you're like still living there. But even then, man, I feel like get an RV, get a mobile home and rent a mobile home out. And be with your fellow brethren white trash, right? Like at least remove yourself from the situation, even if it means that it's financial hardship, because now the alternative is I assume this lady's like in jail for life.
Yeah, 25 to life. And I want to, before we get all out of here, I want to say a little story about it. Like, so this is, for instance, my brother, his neighbor, her mother passed away, and there was a bunch of like, she was older, about 98 years old, and like the family was over, right? And the brother was a little distraught. He's older. He's probably in his mid 50s or so. And the neighbors across the street were mad where he parked, and he's mad at them because he's like, man, you guys, I can't back out. And so he went over there all mad and kind of, he's emotional. It was probably not the right time, but with what's going on, he was emotional about it. And my brother saw that and saw him kind of arguing with them. So my brother walked over there, talks to the brother and goes, hey, come on, man, it's not a big deal. Walks him, walks him off the ledge, talks to the neighbors. The next day, his sister, who lives at the house, goes, talks to the neighbors and apologizes and lets them know, hey, and guess what? Now they're all cool. That's how you handle the situation. You don't go, no, you ain't doing this. My kids are going to be on that yard. I would have just talked to her and said, hey, don't worry. My kids will never be anywhere near your house, except like if you're across the street, the closest, right? Because I'm with you. I'm protecting my kids. That could have been one of the kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Susan, I can see that she's all her marbles on there and she could have shot one of the kids. And I think she would have.
Dude, even if it didn't happen that particular night, the fact that she's in her house, she looked up the rules, she's in her house, she got the gun out at some point or had it accessible. Like her hand went on it first before she even walked up to the door. So even if she were able to talk herself out of whatever she was going to do right before she pulls that trigger, it's still this escalation. Like now she's looking at laws. Now she's got a gun. Now she's willing to get the gun. So it could have maybe just been a much slower burn, but maybe like the fatalistic part of me is like, this was always going to happen on a long enough timeline with all these people living in this neighborhood together. It was an incompatible situation for everyone involved. Even if one person was the problem, like the problem still existed.
And don't forget, go to paranoidamerican.com, killthemockingbirds.com, like, subscribe, and share. Under the Docs, you got our classics on Tuesdays, and then you come in Mondays, tune into some TikTok favorites. No, I'm just kidding.
Your favorites for sure, yeah.
Hey, like, subscribe, share. Under the Docs. That's it for us today. Peace.
Under the docks, yeah, under the docks. Buried deep, but we're breaking the locks. Footage got clipped, they erased all the shots. We stay connected dots. Under the docks, under the docks, yeah, under the docks.
Ready for a cosmic conspiracy about Stanley Kubrick, moon landings, and the CIA? Go visit nasacomic.com.
nasacomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm nasacomic.com, go visit nasacomic.com. Go visit nasacomic.com. Yeah, go visit nasacomic.com. Oh, nasacomic.com, CIA's biggest con. Stanley Kubrick put us on, that's why we're singing this song. I'm nasacomic.com, go visit nasacomic.com. Go visit nasacomic.com. Yeah, go visit nasacomic.com.
Never a Straight Answer is a 40-page comic about Stanley Kubrick directing the Apollo space missions.
Yeah, go visit nasacomic.com.
This is the perfect read for comic, Kubrick, or conspiracy fans of all ages. For more details, visit nasacomic.com.
Paranoid. Yo. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out. out nuclear bomb, distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when a beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.